Wish it was easy every day. I'd like that better. Wish you'd forgotten what to say. That's not your kind.
Hey guys, it's Dan from Shasta Bub Adventures, and today is the first day of an epic adventure. I'm planning to do an entire cross the bob trip, coming in at Swift Reservoir and coming out at Holland Lake in 7 days. What you see behind me is the North Fork of Birch Creek, and as you can tell, there was a fairly recent fire just a couple of years ago that went through here, so it might be a pretty hot day. I might have to stop quite a bit for water and breaks here and there. About 14 miles, I think, to my goal, which is Beaver Lake, just over Badger Pass. So let's get going. A little background on this trip. I actually had put this all together to do last year and was all set to go. My wife and I had even done the first part of the shuttle and dropped my truck off at the outlet point, and then I had to work another week, and my last workout before the trip and almost the last exercise I was going to do, I managed to get a little pop in my right knee and mess it up, and the whole trip was off. So I have been thinking and dreaming of this trip for 2 years now, and I'm pretty happy to finally be doing it. Just dunked my whole head and hat in this little stream, and wow, does that ever feel good. It's so refreshing when it's such a hot day and south-facing slopes. Whew. I just turned on my thermometer, and at first it read 107. I thought that can't be right. It was probably just heating up from being in the front pocket of my pack and the sun hitting it. So I put it in the shade of my pack, let it sit for 5 minutes, and it only went down to 101. So I don't know what it actually is, but it's hot. About 2 o'clock, just starting to head up the real steep part of the climb. And really looking forward to getting over Badger Pass, hoping the other side will be into some actual trees and a little cooler. Also, I had a problem with my SteriPen. That wouldn't work either. I just put brand new batteries in for this trip to make sure that I wouldn't have any troubles, and I tested them before I left. But right now it's flashing red like they're dead, and I'm hoping that's just the heat. But I went ahead and took a chance with the water, because there's no way I can make it up over this pass without water. I do have some Aqua Mira tabs, but I guess I was lazy and didn't want to pull them out. I knew where I got both of those bottles of water from, and they were fairly safe sources, so I think it was a reasonable risk, but I hope I don't have to take the same risk for the entire trip. That would be kind of a problem. Well, that's where I've come from today. Doesn't it look hot? And hiking up along those mountains. And we are just about there. There's a little campsite up top here. Obviously a dry camp. I don't know if I'd want to hang out here because it'd be pretty windy, I think, at night. And looks like that's the final lift. Well, I suppose it's always the case that the hardest pass I've ever climbed is the one I'm working on right now. But that was a doozy. And between the almost total lack of shade and most of the trail is southern exposure and very rocky, not to mention the heat index, this is not a pass that I would suggest hiking when it's really warm like this. But it's just a couple of miles to go until Beaver Lake, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
What's that? It's Mary on my wish. Say how she miss. Wanna give her a kiss, but she's not here. So I drink another beer to show it all away.
Well, there's Badger Pass from the west side. I thought the other side was steep. Well, I made it to the CDT. That's pretty cool. And now I'll be on it for, I think, about a mile and a half. Not very far, just to Beaver Lake. Well, I finally made it to Beaver Lake. That was the longest 2 miles of my life. I should have checked the map instead of the GPS. Because I think that was 2 miles as the crow flies. It took me 2.5 hours to get down here. Looks like I have it all to myself though. Well, I've had a chance to get cleaned up a little bit and take stock of the situation. I tried the SteriPen again after it's cooled off a bit. It's still really warm. I had to put the wind shirt on just to protect me from the bugs, but unfortunately looks like the batteries are dead, so I am kind of hurting. I've taken stock of my Aqua Tabs treatment and looks like I've got enough for 15 treatments, which would be plenty if I was on a 3-day trip and needed to supplement, but probably doesn't scratch the tip of the iceberg for what I'm going to need on the rest of another 6 days. So I think I'll just have to be really mindful of taking only from sources that seem really safe. It's probably going to be little side streams and springs, whatever I can find. And when I absolutely can't find something safe like that, then I'll use the Aqua Tabs to treat it. That adds a little extra wrinkle to the trip. Nothing ever goes completely according to plan, but I think I'll be okay. I have read articles that talk about Giardia is nowhere near as widespread as people think, so hope they're right, and hope I can be wise with my water sources and what I choose. So I think that it was a little over 2,000 feet elevation gain and about 1,000 feet down the other side. It was quite a trek getting down off of Badger Pass, not to mention the slog of getting up Badger Pass too. I originally conceived of this trip. It's not in any guidebook or anything. By the way, I'm crossing the Bob from the northeast to the southwest. If you thought of it as a clock face, it's basically from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. and I'm kind of connecting dots of different things that I always wanted to do. This was one I've wanted for a long time to see Badger Lake, and Beaver Lake. I knew I was going to do that. Probably 20 years ago, I did the loop of the Gateway Gorge and coming up Strawberry Creek, and you're supposed to go back down the North Fork of Birch Creek, but I doubled the trip and went on up to the north into the Badger River basin and came out by Hart Butte. So that was a great trip, but I missed that one piece of the North Fork of Birch Creek, and I'd read that there was a beautiful canyon through there, which there was. So that was one thing I always wanted to see. And then when I did come through that on Strawberry Creek and hit the junction to come over to this Beaver Lake, I changed my mind at the last minute and kept going. So I missed seeing Beaver Lake. So that was the reason for this first stage, and I'll tell you more tomorrow when I hit the second stage. I've got a really nice campsite here, and looking forward to hitting the sack early because I'm pretty pooped, and hopefully that good night's sleep will be just what I need to set me right tomorrow morning. Alright, have a good night. I'll see you in the morning.
Get along, little doggy. Get along with